I don't know how many liberals might fall upon my channel, but they won't last long, and it wouldn't be too long before they discovered that I'm not about supporting weaklings, and I'm not a liberalist for the better part. And anybody that supports liberalism across the board and that we're all equal, well, I mean, you deserve what's coming for you. Because what's coming for you is complete and utter disempowerment and slavery. And we all know what happens when states start to get in a position where they've got full autonomy over the people. Then they start to reduce the numbers. And this has been done throughout history across the whole world, and that is exactly what's going to happen in the Western world, only they're going to be doing it by different ways, and some of these ways you've seen how they've done it in recent times. And if any of you keep up to date on their machinations, you'll know that, like in France, they have prevented anybody saying anything about that stuff. Otherwise they will bang them into prison or fine them 45,000 euros. So this machine that is promoting your liberalism and how it's so nice for you, and you can be gay, and you can be tranny, and you can be anything you want, you can be a pedo, it doesn't matter, we're all equal. You'll find out how fucking equal you are when you've cast a ballot vote and they've got power, and then they'll come looking for you fuckers. So my advice is that you don't buy any of that, and you realise that this dimension doesn't favour liberalism in any shape or form. Nature doesn't favour it, period. And so all you have to do is to look at what God created, what the cosmos created, and it didn't create all things being equal. And anybody that wants things to be equal is because they are on the lowest rung of the ladder, and they want to bring everybody down, don't they? That's what postmodernism's about mostly, bringing everybody down to their level, a level of mediocrity. And so, you know, any liberals, get the fuck off this channel now before I slay you, before I slay you with my words of wisdom and my powerful truth. If you want anything from this life, just like any other animal or creature, you have to go and take it. You have to take what you want before somebody else does. And those who have got something is because they've taken it by whatever shape or form. They have been good at something and they have put blood and sweat into it, and eventually they can sell it in copious amounts to the fool. And so here we are. We're at a crossroads in humanity, and we're teetering on whether the whole world is going to go into some form of mediocrity, or fascism, or communism, different strains of socialism, and it just won't fare well for the public. Never has, never will. We have to maintain some level of democracy. We have to maintain a level of autonomy, and this is why the founding fathers of America, they put certain rules in place to ensure that mediocrity wasn't ever going to be coming about any day soon, and everybody had the right for free speech and to bear arms and say what the fucking hell they felt, and if there's people in power, then they had the rights to topple them. You'll notice that is changing exponentially all over the world. People getting into power are invariably not moving, they're not leaving. And if you look at America, with that old decrepit, senile old fool Biden, from day one he was the bad egg, and yet the power and money behind him put him there because they could just give him pieces of paper and tell him what to say. And he was even stupid enough to, what should I say, look down at a piece of paper and go, oh, they've told me to say this. Fucking hell. But that's the state of the most powerful country on the planet. And of course it's the intent of powerful people who aren't American, and they've got nothing to do with the founding fathers, and they've got nothing to do with any of the standards which the founding fathers put in place. They are tearing them down and there'll be nothing left. And they want America to fall into decay. They're pushing for I can't even say it on this channel, but they're pushing for an uprising for the people, anyone that's got a little bit of backbone, to weed them out, to crush them, and then all they've got left is the mediocrity, which they want. And then they can have complete and utter jurisdiction over the mediocrity, the mediocre souls, the ones that like liberalism and like everything being equal. I want the world to be equal like me. What an equal piece of shit. Unintelligent, dumb motherfucker, fat fucking pleb. You want the world to be like you? Go fuck yourselves. How many people are standing for that bullshit? No, we're not standing for it. And so, are they going to get it? I don't think they're going to get it, people. Because as much as you know, we can think the vast majority of the public are plebs and degenerates, I think it only needs 10% to turn it around. 10% of you know, warriors. I think there might be 10% left, and so we'll do it. And then the grovelling, mediocre bastards that wanted the liberalism, they'll get fucking liberalism. We'll set them crushing rocks for the rest of their fucking lives, packing our chickens and fucking canning our beans. That's what we'll fucking do to them. And so there you have it. You heard it here first. And so, you know, this is very much Julius Evola. You know, he wrote about kings and emperors, and you know how power structures should be, and it's all about honor and power and righteousness and intelligence and all these things, and they're the only people that should rule the planet. But that's long since been superseded by fools that have been put in place by the invisible. It's the invisible that are ruling this world now, and you know, nobody even gets a glimmer, well, not even a fleeting glance at these people. And some may, you know, consider that, you know, the Rothschilds have got a bit to do with it. Well, they're the fucking Rothschilds, you know. They're all dead now, and the ones that, you know, aren't dead, you know, they've got no high profile and, you know, not no power as such. You know, the Rothschilds was about 100 years ago, you know, Illuminati and all this sort of thing. But the power that's behind this world movement is even vastly bigger than the Rothschilds. And you know, people like Gates and Soros, they're just fucking henchmen, just to look like, you know, it's feasible that they could be doing stuff when they're not. So people have got to look farther and deeper to discover what's really going on. But you know, I've just been in the gym and I'm pumping it up, and I'm looking at the inverted cross around my neck, and I'm thinking, well, what do people think about that? I mean, nobody's said anything, and I don't think even people will think about it or look at it. And if they did notice it, then they might think, this guy's into metal, you know, with the dreads and, you know, these things. They wouldn't know what anything meant. But, you know, what does that mean? In my book, I talk about what it means. The inverted cross is symbolism of Satanism. What's Satanism? Self-serving, that's what Satanism is. It isn't, you know, evil or any of this stupid stuff. It's not fucking goats, for most people. It's ego. Is the flesh, because in the Bible, flesh is deemed to be the most disgusting, vile thing, and it's hated and despised by Jehovah. And even in the New Testament, the flesh is something vile that we've got to, supersede and overcome. And, all we can hope for is that we're going to beg and beg and beg for all of our lives that we get forgiven for being this vile flesh, and then hopefully we'll go and sit alongside the Father. I say fuck the Father. I say fuck the Father's Son as far as being God is concerned. I'm not buying into any of that bullshit. I'm buying into sovereignty. I'm buying into human sovereignty. That's what I'm buying into, and everybody needs to be their own king and ruler. And if we all have a level of intelligence and respect for one another, then we'll come to a general consensus, which is good. And so this is how it used to work, and this is Plato's vision of philosophers and kings being philosophers, and Julius Evola's sort of idea. But now all that's gone, and the world's heading for trouble, and anybody that's buying into this liberalism bullshit, well, they're just stoking up the fire for their own burning, because that's what's going to happen. You have to take it, people. And so I wear the inverted cross as a sign of the ego, because my ego, and I've done many videos about my ego, it's took me around the world, and it's brought me, many of the experiences that I've had, and the riches and all that sort of thing. But we have to have balance, you see. And so what I've done now is, you'll read, those of you that have bought the book, you'll read about how I became to have balance with my ego. And now my ego and my higher self have equal footing. My higher self takes control of spiritual things, and my ego takes control of carnal flesh things. You see, we are a flesh thing, and we cannot diminish the ego and turn the other cheek and all that sort of stuff, because if we do that, then we'll end up exactly where they want us to be, putty in their hands. And so that's the last thing we should ever do. And so I don't believe any wise man ever said that. I think it's contrivance, and that's why I don't believe the vast majority of stuff in those stupid books, because they don't make sense, and they don't even make sense to the scholars why we should love our neighbour or love our enemy and turn the other cheek, because it's not humanly possible. It's just not fucking possible for a human being. So why did God or the Son of God say that? He never. It's contrivance written by people who wanted to take power over weak people, because potentially they were terrifying the marauding masses, the heathens. Oh, they were terrifying. How many monarchs' heads did they have on spikes? So they wrote that bullshit to pacify everybody, pull the wool over their eyes, and a good portion of the idiot bought into it. But I keep my ego firmly alive, because it's all served me very, very well, but I'm not out of balance anymore. And that's one of the greatest words of wisdom I'll say in this video. We have to get balance, and we have to know what balance is. We have to look deep into the heart of what we are. We have to look and discern what the soul is. We have to look what the spirit is. We have to be able to distinguish between the two, and we have to know that we are both parties. We're not just one. We are both spirit and soul. And soul is ego, by the way, but they never in the old days had the word ego, because the word ego was coined by Freud. And so they wrote about the ego as being the soul in all biblical scripture and other scriptures. So anyway, more awesome words of wisdom from the artist formerly known as the Awakened Brave, but sometimes known as the Green Man.